CF, we are continuing in Philippians chapter 1, and we're actually just going to pick right up in verse 15. We left off in verse 14. The Apostle Paul, he says, "It's true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry." Now, just a little bit of backtrack. Paul said that because of his imprisonment, many of the brothers and sisters were being more and more bold to proclaim the message of Christ. But now Paul is being pretty honest about some uncomfortable things. He says, verse 15, "It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former," verse 17, "preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains." Verse 18, Paul's reaction. "But what does it matter? The important thing is this, that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached, and because of this I rejoice." It's a really remarkable portion of Scripture for a lot of reasons, because the first thing that you can't get around, we know the Scripture talks about don't judge one another and how difficult it is to judge someone's motives, but that is exactly what Paul is here doing. He's judging the motives. He's saying some people were literally preaching the message of Christ out of their own selfish ambition, out of rivalry, envy of Paul. They wanted the sense of prestige and power that they thought Paul was enjoying. Paul could have cared less, but they wanted to feel the influence, the power, the prestige that Paul had. And so they were literally using the message of Christ to sort of elevate their own sense of self-worth, so to speak. And Paul doesn't shrink back. He says, I know what they're doing. I know they're not sincere. He says, but there are also others that because I'm in chains, they're bold and they're proclaiming Christ because they love me, they love my mission, they love the Lord, and they're doing it for the right reasons. Now, this is a fascinating portion of Scripture. I do not advocate that we go around looking to judge people's motives, albeit we are supposed to be realists as Christians, and there are times when someone's motives, because Jesus said you'll know them by their fruit, and we see somebody's character and conduct is not matching up with the message they're presenting, well, we can't help but to be suspicious about their motives. But here Paul, he says, but you know what? Even the ones whose motives are selfish ambition and envy and rivalry and no sincerity at all about Christ, he said, it doesn't matter. He said, because the only thing that matters is that the message of Christ is preached. Now, this is really important because it shows it is not the conduit that is the key element in this message of Christ. It is the message itself. It's the message that can reach into the hearts and minds of human beings and change them forever. It's not the messenger. The messengers are important. God works through people. He works through human instrumentality. But Paul is here saying, even when the messengers have corrupt motives, the message itself is so powerful and so pure, if a person hears it, they can turn to Christ, turn to God in trust, and their life will be changed for time and eternity. So Paul says, you know what? They think they're bothering me. I'm here in chains. I can't get out the way I used to. And they think it's going to bother me that they're making things even harder on me. But he says, I'm just glad that the message is going forth more than it ever was, because it's the message itself that can reach a human heart and change their life forever. So once again, we have this emphasis on the importance of sharing the message of Christ in any way that we can, any time that we can, with anyone that God puts in our circle of influence. And if we can't comfortably share the message, we can always give an invite. And when you invite somebody to church, that's the place where the message of Christ is going to get through to them again and again and again. So let's not be those that shrink back, but those that are bold. And let's make sure that our own motives are pure, because we all have the ability to do the right things for the wrong reasons, ironically. All right, we'll pick it up tomorrow.